lot of guys, when they are losing hair or whatever, they actually like avoid the barbershop or they avoid getting out for fear of like that embarrassment, or you know what I mean? If it's packed in here, you got guys waiting and some guys in here, like he's not going to feel comfortable. No. A lot of guys aren't going to feel comfortable to just outright be like, yeah, like I'm obviously going bald, mate, so just do what you can.
Yeah, it's definitely become a point now where I will approach a customer about it if they're not sure how they style their hair. Some people don't realise they're losing their hair and they're trying to create these styles and I don't know why it's not going the way you're going.
Right.
And that's my opportunity to say, look, you've not got the coverage of hair you need to do this hairstyle. It then opens the chat and the conversation to
eases in.
Oh, okay, it's not going to be as big of a shock when I look in the mirror and see this big bald patch at the back of my head.
Guys, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of the Baldcafe podcast. We're here with Dean. Dean, we're down in your shop here, Mengo Male Grooming.
Yeah.
Southend-on-Sea?
Leigh-on-Sea, yeah.
Leigh-on-Sea, just next door, right?
Just next door, yeah.
And we've just finished up with what we're calling the double blend.
The newest trend on the market.
Double blend. Guys, if you haven't seen the full video, I'll link that down in the description box. But we're here in all the gear, my new turtleneck, and I'm loving life. So, Dean, thanks for doing that. Thanks for doing this. Hopefully the start of something quite cool here. We can do some more collaborations in the future. Yeah. But in this episode, I just wanted to like get to know you a little bit better, and really, I guess, get an insight into the whole thing of like hair loss and how that's dealt with from a barber's perspective.
Yeah, of course.
Got a ton of experience. You've been in your own shop now for 6 years, right?
Yeah.
And a long journey up to that point, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But I mean, first of all, let's just dive head first into this, shall we? Like, how often or how like much of a thing is hair loss in terms of your clientele? Like the ratio of guys who are dealing with it to some extent? Is it like it's not even a thing? Like so many people, it's a thing for almost all the guys.
Yeah,
or
it's definitely become a lot more common. I mean, I've been cutting hair for 16 years now, and it was no one really spoke about it. No one wanted to accept the fact they were going bald. No one wanted to go down the avenues of what they could do to help it or express it. Whereas definitely over the last 5-6 years, I mean, it's helping. It's becoming more mainstream now. You've got a lot of celebrities that are embracing baldness, and it's become a lot more of a current thing to talk about in the shop. And I think from our point of view as a barber, which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to actually meet with you, is it's our job to educate and make customers feel comfortable enough to actually talk about it with us and see what their options are, rather than just stressing about it at home or not knowing what they're going to do with it, whether they're going to have to shave it off or not be happy with the hairstyle. Because that's the biggest thing we have. We have customers come in that are effectively covering up their baldness with hair, but it's not solving the problem.
Yeah.
It's causing them more anxiety, more stress. They're not really comfortable and confident to go out on nights out because they've got this hairstyle that takes so much maintenance that they don't know what to do with it. So that's where we come in.
And we talked earlier, and you said like there obviously are like a ton of options in terms of like what you do, and it's not necessarily. I think a lot of guys, their first thought is grow it long. And use that more hair to kind of cover it up. My thing, I talked about it so often, but you know, I used to constantly try and like spread the hair out more. It's all that. It's all about covering it up, isn't it? And so there obviously are a ton of different options. And is that the thing that you see most often? Do you get a lot of guys when they're first kind of experiencing hair loss? Are they asking for like, can you try and make it look like I'm not losing my hair?
Yeah, I mean, there's adverts put in your face all day long now about hair fibres you can chuck in your hair and cover it up, or there's sprays and gels and waxes, and yes, they've got a purpose, and if they're used properly they can be brilliant. But like you just touched on, the first thing people do when they start losing their hair is grow it. And the problem that creates is when you've got long hair, it separates. So you've got to then spray it in place with hairspray. You've got to fix it in place. So yes, you've got more hair on your head, but the minute it moves out of that style, you're back to square one.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a lot more styles, more of like to adopt a shorter style with a bit more texture in it. It covers up that. It's not to cover it up. It almost embraces it more. So yes, you may have a bit of thinning, but it looks better than if a comb over falls out of place.
Yeah.
And then it's blatantly obvious what you're trying to do. Whereas I think it's a lot more accepted nowadays that if you're going through that transition and losing your hair and receding, if you just crop it down a bit shorter, embrace it, people will just back it, and no one says anything about it. It's that initial fear of I don't know how it's going to look. Once that wears off, it's okay.
I think it's that whole thing, when you're doing something to try and have it covered, I guess that anxiety of like anything that is going to reveal that.
Yeah.
Obviously, an obvious one, if you're using hair to like cover a receding hairline or something, you grow your fringe long or whatever, there's it's so easily exposed in that sense. But I guess if you're just rocking like a shorter hairstyle that you can't do anything to expose it, it just clean how it looks. I guess already you're thinking, well, that's going to give me like a better baseline of like comfort, So is that often the kind of advice you'll give to guys if they walk in and they're like, I'm doing this to cover it up, but I'm not happy with it? Do you often say like, oh, let's go a bit shorter, we can,
exactly that. And I think the problem is as humans, it's not a thing we do to point out people's insecurities, but as a barber, for me to sit you in a chair and almost lie to you that you're losing your hair is a bit of an injustice, rather than me saying, look, you are starting to thin a bit. These are your options. If you're not comfortable with them, we'll discuss something else. But rather than trying to big someone up and say, oh, no, you're not losing your hair, and then them go home and look in the mirror and not be comfortable with the result, I think that's worse than actually educating someone, letting them know. I mean, they're going to know they're losing their hair.
Yeah.
So they're going to be expecting it, but it's actually telling them what their options are is going to help them. With the fibres, I use them on a daily basis in the shop. I'm not against them at all because customers like them. But
do they ask for them?
Or? Yeah, we've had people ask for them, but you've got to educate them on what actually comes with it. It's not a case of you sprinkle the fibres in your hair and you full head of hair's back. You've got to let them know the fact that it's not going to solve the problem. It's just masking it. So there is that problem that you could then move their anxiety onto the fibres themselves rather than their hair. So
it's that thing in it. Even when I had like full hair, and I think this is like a well-known thing, but you go to come somewhere like your shop here, get your hair cut, and you walk out and you're like, oh mate, I look so good. Like that barber's done it so perfectly. And then you wake up like the next day, wash your hair, try and do it the same. You can never recreate the fresh barbershop trim, And I suppose, like you say, it's your job to say to the guy, like, look, we're putting this in, we've styled it, it looks great, but just don't be like expecting every morning you wake up it's going to look like this, I suppose as long as you're transparent with that, or as long as they actually understand like the situation, then I suppose it's good to see the hair fibres as like a bonus, rather than it's not a magic pill.
Cure. There is maintenance involved in using them, but you can get great results with them. So if that's the route you want to go down, you just got to make sure your barber or your hairdresser is showing you how to apply them, showing you how to fix them in place, and letting you know the problems that can get caused with them.
Let's talk about the breaching the topic of like hair loss. You said that most of the guys that come in, if they know like they're thinning out a bit, will they? It's weird, isn't it? Do a lot of guys come in and they're like just outright like, yeah, mate, I'm obviously losing my hair, or but do you get a lot of guys who are just like, I don't know, guys, I feel like I'd be like making a joke of it or something. I'd be like, oh yeah, like not much to work with there, but I mean, I think I even did that here when we were doing this, like, I even did that, a way of like comforting myself, just to like prepare myself in case you're like.
And there's two, you do get the two spectrums, like there's two clientele that come in. You've got the some that are very insecure about it and want to go for a bit of a quiet word or won't even bring the topic up. They'll wait for you to present the opportunity to them. Or like you say, you've got the others that are like, oh, work your magic, but I hope you're more than just a barber, like that sort of client. And it just depends on, I think as our job as a professional is to gauge your client. There's not a one style fits all in this job. You need to have the consultation with your client, see what sort of, there's no point me taking a piss out of a customer if they're very insecure and self-conscious about the way they look. Because if I go, oh, bloody hell, this is going to be a quick haircut, and they're got no hair on top, they're never going to come back again.
There's a few classics, right? Like, it's like half price or something. I'm sure you get things like that, right? Like, he's charging me full price for half a head.
Exactly. So, but you've got some clients that will absolutely love that. My brother's one of them. If I rip my brother about losing his hair, he'll just give it back to me as good as he gets it. Whereas, you've got to gauge the room, like know your audience, and see who you can be like it with. But it's definitely become a point now where I will approach a customer about it if they're not sure how they style their hair. Because I mean, some people, I'm back them and I'm glad they like it, but it's almost like some people don't realise they're losing their hair and they're trying to create these styles and I don't know why it's not going the way you're going.
Right.
And that's my opportunity to say, look, you've not got the coverage of hair you need to do this hairstyle. You'll be better off doing this sort of style.
Yeah.
And that's when it then opens the chat and the conversation to
eases in.
Oh, okay, it's not going to be as big of a shock when I look in a mirror and see this big bald patch at the back of my head.
So it's difficult for you in when I guess you've got that type of customer, because a lot of guys, when they are losing hair or whatever, they actually like avoid the barber shop or they avoid getting out for fear of like that embarrassment, or you know what I mean, if it's packed in here, you got guys waiting and some guys in here, like he's not going to feel comfortable. A lot of guys aren't going to feel comfortable to just outright be like, yeah, like I'm obviously going bald, mate, so just do what you can. You know, that takes a lot of self-confidence to be able to do that. So I was speaking to a lot of guys who they just outright stop going, they start cutting their own hair and stuff like that. So I suppose it's a bit of a challenge for you to make them feel comfortable enough. Like, listen, you don't need to stop coming here just because of that's going on.
I mean, what we're trying to build here is it's not, you don't just come here for a haircut. It's more of the experience. Yes, you could shave your hair off at home, but you're not going to get the hot towels. You're not going to get the relaxation, the cutthroat shave. You could do it yourself upstairs in your bathroom, but why not treat yourself once in a while? I don't want it to feel like you can't come in because you haven't got the full head of hair that you used to have. Yeah. And I mean, it's affected by a lot of factors. Social media is perfect hairlines, thick curly hair, all these styles that are going on. So of course people are going to feel like there's no point coming in. And that's what I'm trying to change in the industry is I don't want my social media and I don't want my community to just be chiseled guys with perfect hair. I want it to be a full broad spectrum.
Reality.
Yeah. Like the everyday man. Yeah. Because there is more of our clientele with issues with their hair, self-confidence, than there is with the perfect hair. Yeah. So why not market them rather than the minority? Yeah, I'd love to explore that a little bit more, because I feel like obviously people on social media, everyone's guilty of this, posting up their best stuff. Yeah, and that. It's a snapshot of
the 1%, you know, that's like the best advert for whatever, right? And I've seen a recent trend on a lot of these, you know, when I'm searching up hair or bald, whatever, I get a lot of these recommended these hair pages. Like a lot of these, you said like the curls, but it's like the wave, like the really like thick fringe that's like wavy and stuff seem to be like quite a recent trend, right? And obviously you want to be posting your best work. It's good for business, it's good for that. But it's like, obviously, like I described it there, that's the 1%. And what does that do for like the guys who aren't hitting those absolute ideals? I mean, talk about appearance in general, like, you know, we've talked about like fitness industry and stuff like that. It's everywhere. Do you know what I mean? That's what the space we're in at right now. But
I think what your aim needs to be is you need to solve a problem for someone. So people aren't coming here necessarily, if they've lost hair, people aren't coming here for the haircut. They're coming here to build that confidence and to, I mean, on a busy Saturday in here, you end up with a group of mates just sitting in the room that don't know each other because they like that kind of rapport. So that's the sort of thing that I want. I want people to come in here because they like coming in here, not just because they need a haircut. Yeah. From a business point of view, you're losing money by them people not coming through your front door. Yeah. So if I can tap into that market and get them back through the door and feel confident and comfortable to come in, then that's a bonus for me.
I guess it's that thing of what happens when you start losing your hair, you start, rather than going to the barber to get the haircut that you want, you are literally like getting like what can you do? You're not like looking, oh, I like this style or I like that. You come in to like help me, like rescue me, like make me try and feel good, as you've described. Yeah. I suppose it's like showing guys that you can, like here, like what I've done today, like whatever you got going on, whether you come for like an epic like shaved head treatment or, you know, there is still things you can do so you can still get that feeling when you walk out, when you do your hair, however you get your hair cut. Because again, the shaved head is a haircut. Yeah. You know, you're coming in and you are taking care of yourself, taking care of your appearance, and you walk out and feel like proud, feel good at that. Not just this thing of like, oh God, I'm clinging on again, or like literally it feels bad, you know, when it's like that. A good challenge for you, that though.
Massively,
you know? Exciting at the same time though.
Exactly, and it's as well. It's taking the stress off someone else. My brother's one of them. He shaves his hair so often that sometimes he just thinks, oh, do you know, I can't be bothered to do it myself. So it's a nice treat for him to come in and get the hot towels out, give him all the hair treatments like head massage, cut throat. It's almost a bit of a better treatment than you'd get with a normal haircut with clippers because it's a bit of a pampering session for you. So it's
the hot towel, like you said.
Of course, yeah.
The talc.
And I think the biggest thing that's been a bonus for me is not focusing on people's insecurities, but focusing on what's actually good for them. So yeah, I might have a guy come in who's got a receding hairline, but he's got an awesome beard. So you pull the attention away from the hair, because the guy sitting next to him might have a great head of hair but can't grow a beard.
Yeah.
So as much as he's insecure about his hair, this guy's insecure about his beard. So it's
the strengths.
Yeah.
No, I like that. That's a big thing, actually, helping guys focus on and getting back to recognizing their, because everyone's got good stuff going on. Of course they have. You know, I like that. On the shaved head thing, is it, with Baldcafe and like me envisioning, and I spoke to you earlier about this space where, and I kind of want to do like a little bit of a tour, so I'm sure I'll be back for a head shave here of like, just like interesting barbershops for that like go a little extra mile for like an epic head shave experience. I can imagine though it's probably not that common, because guys maybe, like you said, they'd rather just get a cheap can of like gel, cheap disposable razor, and just do it themselves. But maybe there's like there's missing
definitely
something
a market
there
for it, and it's letting people see the value in the experience, because like you just said, if you're charging for an experience, you've got to let someone see that you're not just charging them to shave their hair off. There's got to be more to it.
Yeah.
Because if I said to you, right, I'm going to charge you X amount, just shave your hair, you'd think, Jesus Christ, that's expensive.
Yeah.
But if I then say, right, well, you'll get the hot towels to open up your pores, you'll do this to exfoliate your skin, your treatment, your face mask, it'll be a full-on pamper session. And you actually...
beer or coffee on the side.
Exactly that, yeah. And it's just making the service good and valuable enough to the customer to keep them coming back. And it's why just because you've got a shaved head can you not have that experience? It shouldn't just be marketed at people with perfect hair, for instance.
Yeah, with a full head of hair. Like you've still got hair that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, I like that. I suppose let's move on quickly to a bit more about you. So recently voted, and this is so good for me and my videos, but voted UK Barber of the Year, right? And I know you've done a lot of interviews and in magazines, which is really refreshing. But how do you get to that point where you're not just a guy that cuts hair and you're wanting to do more? And how have you got to this point where you're being recognised and that sort of thing? I suppose that's different. You know, that's different.
Of course,
so how have you got to that point?
I mean, for me, it's been 16 years of cutting hair behind the chair, and that was all I knew. It was, I cut hair, put money in until, got paid at the end of the week. That was my job. And then I got to a point where it was a bit flat and it was a bit stagnant, and I'm one of these people, I need something to focus on. I need drive, a bit of motivation to keep going. So I actually took on a mentor, just to sort of see what my other avenues were. Still cutting hair, still in the hair industry, but sort of playing at a bit of a higher level. And the first thing he said to me was, you need to do photo collections and you need to enter competitions, because even if you don't win a competition, the experience you'll get from that and what you'll learn will be worth it, even if you not lose, but don't win. It's sort of paid dividends that when I've fully focused on it, it's come to fruition, and I've picked up my first award. So it was that hunger to sort of get my passion back for the industry. Not that I'd lost, but I didn't just want to be cutting hair behind a chair for till 65.
I think that I kind of recognise that's different is you're thinking more in terms of you're not just making someone's hair this long and it goes down to this long and they walk out. Like there's way more to it. We've talked about the conversation, which totally aligns with the work that I do, making people feel comfortable and all sorts of things like that. And I guess it's seeing your job as more than just I cut hair. I think that's probably more to it than a fancy picture in that, which is
massively
that helps showcase your work, but you're obviously thinking way more about what it is you do. And that's interesting to me because just a quick story. When I was working as a teacher overseas, I got to the point in that job where I'd been doing it for a couple of years, and I literally just saw it as like I go in the classroom, I bloody teach these kids some like new words and whatnot, give them some homework that they don't want to do, and off they go. And then I met this teacher who'd been, teacher from the States, who'd been doing it for like 30 years. And she was like, I used to think like that until the kids that I started teaching when I started used to come back to me and they were like, lawyers or not even necessarily like a job like that, but they'd done so much stuff, and I was the person that helped kickstart some of that stuff. And she was just like, you're not like, you could be the difference to that kid. That,
it's the impact changes. You have on that life.
Yeah, you're not just here to like teach them a few words and off they go. Like you're way more than that. And that really like reignited my, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Like passion for doing that. I can sense that in you. I sense that it's a
because
it's more than
for like
just
yourself or a customer, it might just be a head shave to you, or to me, sorry. But to you, that head shave is giving you the confidence to then go out and have a date, or go out and get that job interview, or go out and do whatever you want to do in that day. So yes, I've just cut your hair, but for you, it's for, yes, I look absolutely.
That is so overlooked. That's so overlooked. No, you're totally right there. Like, you're that little extra step that they get to feel good. What else can they do? And then how do they pass that on to other people in terms of like, I feel good now, so I'm way more likely to be nicer to that person in that shop. And then they're like, oh, that customer was really nice to me. Now I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, there's way more to it than that. Definitely. I like that. Dean, congratulations.
Thank you very much
on the award. Thank you so much for having me here in your shop.
Absolute pleasure. Great. Thank you for coming down.
And listen, in the future, this could be, we could be doing more.
Yeah, definitely just the beginning.
Exciting stuff.
I really hope so.
Brilliant. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Baldcafe podcast. A nice, interesting one here in a different setting. Here, again, all the socials, all the links for Dean and his shop down in the description box. I want to thank you for watching, for listening. We'll see you again for another episode of the Baldcafe podcast. Goodbye.